Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar brought to you by the Ethical Hacker Network, a free online magazine and community for security professionals. The world of social engineering is a vast one, probably more so than most of you could imagine. But to most, it can seem like a strange and mysterious place filled with wonders of the human brain, trickery of the mind, and all sorts of non-technical wizardry. Well, you'll probably need a wise and experienced guide on this journey we're about to go on, which is why we're proud to have recognized expert Chris Hadnagy with us today.
Thanks for having me here. I started off in the security world, and I always had a knack for the SE side of things. So kind of led me down a path to creating the framework of social engineering. And then for the last decade, I've been solely focused on just the human side of security and trying to really understand how people make decisions and then bringing a science to that art of social engineering. Most of all, people define social engineering with the word manipulation in it and making it always seem like it was a negative. I didn't really like that, so I came up with my own definition, which is the act of influencing a person to take an action that may or may not be in their best interest. And I think this broad definition is better because it's not always negative, in my opinion. We use aspects of social engineering and influence and rapport and other parts of how we communicate and make decisions every day, whether it's our spouses, our kids, clergy, our bosses. Down the line, we use these aspects for both positive and negative sides each and every day. But mainly OSINT now is done online, so you need tools for that. And some of one of my favorite tools is Maltego, and then just Google. Maltego and Google together, to me, are like my perfect tool set for OSINT. And a social engineer needs to know how to use those, because you can't produce a attack vector or a pretext unless you have knowledge of what affects the target.
So you can see we definitely want to move into that direction of how do we actually carve out that career in social engineering. So on the last slide, we kind of already touched on intermixing those end user attacks, which are kind of in person, which are those things that, most people think of when it's social engineering, as well as utilizing those skills on the technical side. But how do we gain that knowledge? Where do we get the training?
And these books are books that I have read or that our podcast guests have read or written, and they cover many of the areas that you would think, well, that's not about social engineering. Well, that's okay, because Robert Cialdini's book about influence is a perfect segue into understanding how we influence people. Robin Dreek's book on rapport building is a perfect segue into how we actually get people to like us and want to be our friend. And we can go through the line. I could name dozens and dozens of these books, but in essence, reading through book lists like that can really help you in this career.
So with that, I thank you, and I will see you guys next time.